Welcome to another deep dive. Today we'll be trying to piece together the story of Dellmus Colvin.
American serial killer.
Right, Dellmus Colvin, American serial
Right.
killer.
Yep.
We've got a really interesting mix of source material for this one.
Yeah, we do.
Court records and excerpts from his Wikipedia page. So,
Lots to unpack.
yeah, it's like we've got all these puzzle pieces just scattered out on the table in front of us.
Exactly.
And hopefully by the time we're done, we've got a clearer picture of
A very complex case.
yeah, a really complex and disturbing case.
Mm-hmm.
So his Wikipedia page kind of paints this picture of almost like a normal childhood,
Right.
growing up in Ohio, born in 1959,
Yeah.
even played football and wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
It's not really the typical image that pops into your head when you think serial killer, you know?
Not at all. It's really that normalcy that is so intriguing and frankly unsettling.
Right.
It really challenges our assumptions about these kinds of criminals.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what happens in someone's life to cause that kind of shift, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And with Colvin, it was like this hidden path almost.
Right.
This dark turn that no one saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
And in his late teens, conflicts with his mother started popping up, and he started showing signs of antisocial behavior.
Yeah.
A switch flipped or something.
And right after that, we see the beginnings of his criminal record.
Oh, yeah.
Charges for assault, illegal weapons possession. It's a pattern of escalating aggression that's unfortunately all too common with these kinds of cases.
By 1989, he gets a 15-year prison sentence.
Wow.
He gets paroled in 92, though.
Okay.
But even freedom doesn't seem to really change his trajectory.
No.
He ends up back in prison for parole violations.
Uh-huh.
And this cycle kind of keeps repeating for several years.
Right.
Imprisonment and release. And all the while, his behavior towards women just seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, and that leads us to a pivotal moment in 2004.
Okay.
A woman escapes
Oh, wow.
after being kidnapped, robbed, assaulted, and nearly raped by Colvin.
Oh, my gosh.
And thank goodness she got away, because this is where DNA technology really enters the picture.
Yeah. Now we're talking a real game changer.
Absolutely.
So his DNA ends up getting linked to two unsolved murders, Jackie Simpson and Melissa Weber.
Right.
And suddenly, these cold cases are like red hot.
Yeah.
Investigators are on the trail of a possible serial killer.
Exactly. And with that weight of DNA evidence against him, Colvin strikes a deal to avoid the death penalty.
Oh, wow.
And he confesses to killing Simpson and Weber.
Okay.
And then he drops another bombshell.
Oh, boy. What's that?
He admits to 3 more murders.
3 more.
Valerie Jones, Jacqueline Thomas, and Lily Summers.
Oh, my gosh.
And his methods were chilling.
Okay.
He'd lure these women, often those struggling financially, into his truck with promises of money for sex. And then he would strangle them and dispose of their bodies.
Oh, that's awful.
It's really striking how his profession as a truck driver kind of facilitated these crimes.
Yeah, I can see that, how...
Yeah, it provided him with both mobility and a degree of anonymity.
Right.
Made it easier to target victims in different places.
Yeah.
And evade detection for so long.
Yeah, it's a reminder that, you know, these guys can be hiding in plain sight.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you know, the guy you see at a truck stop or you pass on the highway could be harboring just unimaginable secrets.
Exactly. It really shatters that myth that serial killers are easily identifiable, you know.
Right.
Lurking in the shadows, they can be anyone blending into everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's what makes their crimes even more insidious.
Right, right. And Colvin's confessions, they didn't end there either.
No, they didn't.
He later admits to yet another murder, Dorothea Wetzel.
Right.
And in this case, he claimed that his motivation stemmed from just this deep-seated misogyny.
Yeah.
Like rooted in his own sexual hang-ups and feelings of inferiority.
You know, it's sad how misogyny plays a role in so many cases of violence against women.
Yeah, it's true.
And Colvin's confession, while disturbing, does shed light on a much larger societal issue.
Absolutely.
It forces us to confront that uncomfortable reality that these attitudes can have really fatal consequences.
Yeah, we as a society need to do a lot more to challenge these misogynistic attitudes and behaviors, you know?
We do.
Create a culture where women feel safe and respected.
Absolutely. We can't just dismiss these confessions as just ramblings of a disturbed mind.
No.
We have to recognize them as symptoms of a larger problem.
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed.
And then in 2010, another twist.
Oh, wow.
DNA evidence links Colvin to a cold case from 1987.
Okay.
The murder of Donnelly White in Atlantic City.
It really is a testament to the power of DNA technology.
It is.
I mean, here's a murder that took place almost 2 decades before Colvin's other known crimes. And yet, this scientific breakthrough brings justice for Donna Lee White.
It's incredible, like, reaching back through time to connect the dots and hold someone accountable years later.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder how many other cold cases are out there just waiting to be solved.
You know, it gives hope to families who have been waiting for answers, sometimes for decades.
It does.
That the truth, though, often delayed, can eventually emerge.
So Colvin is extradited to New Jersey to face trial, and he pleads guilty to Donna Lee White's murder.
Okay.
And his account of her death is particularly chilling.
Oh, no.
He claimed Donna overdosed on drugs, and that instead of calling for help, he chose to suffocate her with a plastic bag.
It's just a level of cruelty and disregard for human life that's hard to comprehend.
I know, it really is.
It's a grim reminder of that chilling detachment that can characterize these offenders. Their actions demonstrate a profound lack of empathy and a disturbing ease with inflicting suffering.
It's almost like they operate on a different moral plane,
right,
where human life holds very little value.
It's a disturbing thought, and it's part of what makes these cases so difficult to process. It challenges our fundamental understanding of right and wrong.
And then just when you think you've grasped the extent of Colvin's depravity, there's one final twist.
What's that?
In 2020, he makes headlines again.
Okay.
During a podcast interview, no less.
Wow.
He claims to have murdered a staggering 52 women.
52.
52.
Yes.
He even provides details about a supposed murder in Illinois, which leads to a search for remains.
Wow. This claim sent shockwaves through the true crime community.
Oh, yeah.
It raises so many questions.
I know.
Is he seeking notoriety? Is he playing mind games? Or could there be any truth to this confession?
It's a chilling possibility that really hangs over this whole case.
It really does.
Even after being caught and convicted, the true extent of Colvin's crimes may remain a mystery.
It really underscores the fact that even with DNA evidence and confessions, we may never fully penetrate the minds of these individuals. There may always be secrets buried beneath the surface.
It's true.
Leaving us with more questions than answers.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But there's still so much to unpack.
Yeah.
And we've gone from a seemingly normal childhood to escalating violence, DNA breakthroughs, shocking confessions, and then this final claim that leaves us reeling.
It's a lot to process.
It really is.
It's a puzzle, all right.
It is.
With so many pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, you have this picture of young Dellmus Colvin playing sports, blending in.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, this dark trajectory just emerges almost out of nowhere.
Right.
It makes you wonder, were there any missed signals, any
Yeah.
subtle warning signs that we could maybe learn from?
Right. It's like trying to understand a storm by just looking at the calm before it hit.
Right.
We know the devastation happened, but the why and the how can be so elusive.
Exactly. Were there any hidden traumas?
Unseen triggers? Or was it more of a gradual erosion of his sense of empathy?
Right.
A slow descent into darkness?
Yeah, these are questions we may never have definite answers to.
Right.
But they're crucial to consider if we want to prevent future tragedies.
Absolutely.
And it's not like his violence began with murder.
No.
You know, those early charges for assault and weapons possession, they hint at this simmering rage, this willingness to inflict harm that predates those later, more horrific crimes.
Absolutely. Those early offenses can be like cracks in a foundation. They signal potential for things to escalate.
Right.
And in Colvin's case, his aggression seems to have been particularly directed at women, growing more and more intense over time.
And that brings us back to the power of DNA technology. It's not just about identifying perpetrators. It's about understanding patterns, connecting the dots in a way that was impossible before.
You know, if that woman hadn't escaped in 2004,
right?
If that DNA evidence hadn't surfaced, who knows how long Colvin's reign of terror might have continued.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
DNA technology has not only revolutionized how we solve crimes, but how we understand them.
Right.
It allows us to see connections that were previously hidden.
Yeah.
To uncover the true scope of a perpetrator's actions.
And in Colvin's case, it opened the door to exposing those other crimes.
Right.
And bringing a measure of justice to those who might have otherwise been forgotten.
Absolutely. Imagine the investigators working on those early cases, hitting dead ends, not knowing that the answer was locked away in a DNA strand, just waiting for science to catch up.
And the families of the victims, living for years with unanswered questions, unresolved grief.
Right.
DNA technology has provided this kind of closure that was once unimaginable.
It's a powerful tool for healing, even if that healing comes decades later.
It is.
But it's important to remember that DNA evidence can only go so far.
That's true.
It provides a link.
But
it doesn't explain the why.
Right.
It doesn't tell us what drove Colvin to commit these acts of unspeakable cruelty.
That's where his confessions become so crucial, because they offer a glimpse, however disturbing, into his motivations.
Right.
He claims that his crimes were fueled by misogyny, by this deep-seated insecurity and these just twisted desires.
And while we should never excuse or downplay his actions,
of course not,
understanding his stated motives can help us address this broader context of violence against women.
Right.
It's not enough to just label him a monster.
No.
We need to examine the societal forces that contribute to these kinds of attitudes and behaviors.
So in a way, his confessions, while horrific, also offer an opportunity for learning, for prevention.
Yeah.
You know, by understanding what led him down this path, we might be able to identify and intervene in similar cases before they reach such a tragic end.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a purely reactive approach to a more proactive one. It's about recognizing warning signs, challenging harmful attitudes, and creating a culture where violence against women is simply unacceptable.
You know, it's interesting how Colvin's case shines a light on the complexities of the criminal mind. He strikes the steel, confesses to 5 murders, and yet he initially withholds information about Dorothea Wetzel. Why do you think he did that?
It's a question that speaks to the manipulation and control that often characterizes these offenders.
Right.
Was he trying to retain some semblance of power, even in the face of overwhelming evidence? Was he protecting something?
Yeah.
Or was it something more sinister?
Yeah.
A desire to prolong the suffering of her loved ones?
It's unsettling to think that even after being caught,
Right.
he was still orchestrating events from behind bars.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that these individuals are often master manipulators, skilled at concealing their true intentions.
And that manipulation can extend beyond the courtroom.
Right.
Think about his later claim of having murdered 52 women.
Yeah.
It was made during a podcast interview, no less.
I know.
It's almost as if he was seeking an even larger platform for his horrific story.
Right.
A way to amplify his infamy.
It's a chilling thought, and it speaks to those narcissistic tendencies that often accompany these kinds of crimes.
Right.
You know, for some, the notoriety, the attention becomes a perverse reward.
And while the investigation in Illinois didn't corroborate his claim, it doesn't mean we can simply dismiss it.
Right.
There's always the possibility that other victims remain undiscovered.
Yeah.
Their stories still waiting to be told.
That's what makes this case so haunting. Even with a conviction, even with confessions, there's this lingering sense of unease, a feeling that we may never know the full extent of Colvin's crimes.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of justice is often a long and winding road, and that sometimes, even with the best efforts of law enforcement and advances in technology, the full truth may remain elusive.
So we've explored the role of DNA, delved into Colvin's confessions, and grappled with this chilling possibility that his crimes may be even more extensive than we know. But there's another element of this case that I find particularly disturbing. The fact that many of his victims were marginalized women, often involved in sex work.
You're right.
Yeah.
That aspect adds another layer of complexity and tragedy to this story.
Yeah.
It highlights the vulnerability of certain populations and the societal factors that contribute to their marginalization.
It's a reminder that we need to do more to protect those who are most at risk, to address the systemic inequalities that make them targets for exploitation and violence.
Absolutely. It's about creating a society where everyone feels safe and valued.
Yes.
Where vulnerability isn't equated with disposability.
Right.
It's about challenging the attitudes and beliefs that allow predators like Colvin to thrive.
And it's about remembering the victims.
Yeah.
Not just as statistics or case files, but as individuals with lives, families, and stories that deserve to be heard and honored.
Their lives mattered.
They did.
Their loss leaves a void that can never be filled.
That's true.
And their stories serve as a powerful reminder of the human cost of violence and the urgent need for change.
You know, through all of this, I keep thinking about the victims. These women weren't just names on a case file.
No.
They had families, dreams, lives cut short.
Yeah, the trauma inflicted by a serial killer goes way beyond the immediate victims.
I imagine.
Creates this web of pain and grief that can span generations. It's like a stone dropped into a pond, you know? The ripples just spreading outwards, impacting families, friends, entire communities.
And in Colvin's case, the fact that so many of his victims were marginalized women, often involved in sex work, it just makes their loss even more tragic.
It does. They were already facing challenges.
Yeah.
Living on the margins of society. And then to be preyed upon by someone like Colvin.
It's awful.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. It speaks to a larger societal issue, doesn't it?
It does.
We talk about serial killers as these lone wolves operating in the shadows.
Right.
But they exist within a system that often fails to protect the most vulnerable.
That's the harsh truth.
It is.
And one that we can't ignore.
No, we can't.
Colvin's case forces us to confront not just the darkness within him, but the cracks in our own society that allow that darkness to flourish.
We need to look beyond the individual and examine the systemic factors that contribute to violence and exploitation. Ask ourselves, what can we do to create a world where everyone feels safe?
Right.
Everyone's life is valued.
It's a question that goes way beyond law enforcement.
I think so.
Beyond criminal justice.
Yeah.
It's about addressing poverty, inequality, and the stigma surrounding sex work.
Yeah.
It's about creating a culture of empathy and understanding.
So creating a safety net, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
To catch those who might otherwise fall through the cracks.
That's it.
Providing support and resources to those who are most at risk.
Yeah.
Empowering them to make choices that lead to safety and well-being.
It's a tall order for sure.
It is.
But it's a necessary one.
Absolutely. If we truly want to prevent these future tragedies, we need to address these root causes, create a society that values the lives of all its members.
And we need to remember the victims.
Yes, we do.
Their stories deserve to be heard.
They do.
Their lives honored.
Absolutely.
By keeping their memory alive, we can fuel the fight for justice, for prevention, for a world where these kinds of horrors are no longer possible.
Thinking about all this, the scale of these crimes, the impact on so many lives, it makes you wonder about the investigators who dedicate their careers to solving these cases. You know, they're exposed to the darkest aspects of human nature day in and day out.
Right.
How do they cope with that kind of emotional burden?
It's a question that often goes unasked.
Doesn't it?
We focus on catching the perpetrators, but we rarely acknowledge the toll it takes on those who pursue them. The emotional weight, the secondary trauma, it can be immense.
It really can. We as a society need to provide support. Not only to the victims of these crimes, but to the investigators who work tirelessly to bring them to justice.
Absolutely.
They deserve access to counseling, resources, to help them process the trauma they witness.
Their well-being is crucial.
It is.
They're on the front lines of this battle against darkness. And we need to equip them with the tools they need to not only survive, but to thrive.
Well, I think we've explored every facet of Dellmus Colvin's case.
I think we have.
We've delved into the chilling details of his crimes, examined his twisted psychology, and grappled with that unsettling possibility that his true victim count may never be known.
It's been a journey into the heart of darkness.
It has.
But one that has, I hope, shed light on the importance of awareness, of prevention, of supporting both the victims and those who fight for justice.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
And I have no doubt that you, our listener, will walk away with a deeper understanding of this complex case. And perhaps even a renewed sense of purpose in advocating for a safer, more just world.
As we conclude our exploration of Dellmus Colvin's life and crimes, I want to leave you with this. Think about the impact of DNA technology, how it's revolutionized criminal investigations. Imagine you're a detective assigned to a cold case. What other advancements or approaches would you prioritize to uncover the truth?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
And one that encourages us all to think critically about the pursuit of justice.
Yeah.
And the tools we need to create a world where these atrocities are less likely to occur.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Dellmus Colvin.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.